Okay, let's have a conversation on inclusive education, and this conversation is brought to you by Star Ghana as part of our mission initiative. European Union, Danida, and the UK Aid have made sponsorship possible. I've been joined by Joshua Makubu, who is a disability advocate. Also, Rose Ofosuhima Dako is an inclusive education coordinator at the Ghana Education Service. She's also a member of the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. And Dr. Peter Obeng Esamwa is the executive director of the Ghana Blind Union and a member of NEC as well. Gentlemen and lady, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Wonderful Monday morning. Let's start off with, and I'm sure we've been playing for you a lot of stories about inclusive education. You've heard me bemoan the fact that we have the laws, but we're not seeing anything, the fact that the laws have been passed and some have not been implemented and all of that. But I want to hazard a conversation. Joshua, the narrative seems like it's not changing. Despite of all the talk we've been saying, we're just seeing the change in very little snippets. That for me is worrying. I don't know if it's worrying for you as well.
Thank you very much, and I want to greet all members of the disability movement in Ghana and all persons with disabilities in Ghana. As a matter of fact, when it comes to the issue of inclusive education, just as we have said, somebody will say, we are seeing some light, but the light is just so tiny that you can't really do anything with that. I was sharing with my sister here. I've been in educational institutions for the past, 15 years. I've always been in school. And sometimes you really ask yourself whether the people here who are in charge of the facilities are aware that somebody like you will also be part of them. And if this is happening, can happen at the university level, then I'm just imagining what will be happening at the primary school level. You get the opportunity to engage with some teachers who have been trained recently. And special education is still something that they don't have, a complete grasp of it. And some of them, how to even relate with peoples with special needs is also a problem. So I think the level of sensitization is quite low. Government's effort towards the implementation of inclusive education is also a problem. And I can say that majority of this sensitization that is being done is as a result of what? Donor support. Star Ghana funding to GFD and then to the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. This is where we are hearing things about inclusive education from. But what is the state doing?
The state's own contribution to it.
What is the state doing?
So you're saying that essentially if Star Ghana decides to go off, GFD, everybody decides to go off and leaves it for the state, where will we be standing?
I think we'll go back to those days when nothing was said about the education of a child with disability.
Anyway, let's go to Doc. Doc, so what are some of the complaints that your desk has received in terms of children who are visually impaired who would want to go to school? What are the stories you've been hearing?
Well, like you said, good morning anyway, and good morning to all your cherished viewers. And like you said, the situation is quite serious. Many of the children in school, many of those who are visually impaired, have especially with reading material. That is something that's of major concern. Many of them don't really have their books in accessible formats, you see, and because of that, many of them are limited in their subject areas, and that also limits what they become after school. So that is a very serious situation. And apart from those who are visually impaired, also you look at even the physical environment of a lot of the institutions is really not that friendly. So yes, there are difficult situations, and there is obviously a lack of facilities for persons who are visually impaired, and for that matter, for those who are disabled. I think our situation as it is that, as Joshua said, we don't have the facility. We are supposed to be there on equal or equitable terms, you see. And the complaint is that more could be done for us if we prioritize as we should be.
Right.
Yes.
Interesting. Rose, let me turn my attention now to you. So where are the materials? Where are the resources? Where are the tools? How do we enable our brothers and sisters who, for no reason, for no fault of theirs, have had to find themselves in this situation? Where are the resources?
Thank you, and good morning to your cherished viewers. Yes, I know we have a challenge, but we are trying to address this challenge. You know, we are coming from a far distance. We used to have special schools for various categories.
Right.
So if you are visually impaired, you go to school for the blind.
Right.
Hearing impaired, you go to school for the deaf. If you are intellectual disabled, you go to intellectual disability schools. Then we realize that these schools are not enough to cater for them. There you have specialized teachers who take care of them. So you have teachers who are speciality in taking care of children who are visually impaired.
So when you realized that the schools were not enough,
yeah,
what happened?
Then we brought in inclusive education policy,
which has been launched a long time ago.
It has been launched,
but the implementation is being pussyfooted.
No, let me come. When we launched the policy, there is the need for us to practice it, implement it in stages, right, so that we will know, we will learn from our mistakes, and we'll move on. And I must tell you that from the 20 districts that we started implementing, the success story is enormous.
20 districts?
Yes.
Out of 216 at the time.
And this year we are moving upscale because we have learned our lessons. We know what we need to do. And in this district...
After how many years? I'm just curious.
2016 we launched the policy.
Okay.
And so from 2016 up till now, you know, we have the structural orientation that we need to.
Right.
Because most of our buildings are not disability friendly. Our school compound, the physical compound should be accessible before the facilities also being accessible. And we have a lot of things that we need to put in place. And so with this, in every district, all the schools there are practicing inclusion. And those where you need ramps are being constructed. Don't let us forget that educating the child.
What were your timelines when you realized the problems that Doc has spoken about, Joshua has spoken about, and you decided that to have a policy in 2016? What were your timelines for the first stage, for example?
For the first stage, we said that by 2020, we should be at appreciable level.
What is this appreciable level?
That at least we'll have all the schools in Ghana implementing inclusive education.
It is in 2019 now.
Yeah.
And we have done only, what, 20 districts?
Not only the 20 districts, we can stick our net to say that these districts, they are practicing.
Are you happy with the progress being
Yes,
made?
we are
From
happy.
where you sit at G?
Yes.
But how, if you are happy, both gentlemen here don't sound happy. Joshua has a point to raise, I'm sure. Joshua, what's on your mind?
You see, my challenge has always been this. If the policies we had in the past created a problem, and then we realized that, and we are trying to make amends to the existing policies, then as at the time that this policy was launched, many school buildings have been put up and they are not accessible. And if you even go to some of the old schools where they try to do some ramps, it is an apology of what? Ramps. It's more even dangerous to us than sitting in the house without education.
So let me ask you, Rose, what kind of conversation goes on if, for example, we're going, because we've seen 6 classroom block has been put up and there's no ramp. This was post 2016. What kind of conversation goes on? Are you involved?
Yes, we are engaging.
Are you involved when, say,
no, you know,
these schools are being put up?
when school buildings are being put up, it is from the MMDAs, the District Assembly. Now, so as part of our sensitization, we realized that the coordinating directors, the engineers for the MMDAs, they also need, and the planning officers, we need to sensitize them so that even if they have forgotten, then they will know that
Is it inculcated in the contract? I'm just curious to know.
They are supposed to.
So if they don't do it, what happens to them?
We
You as
need to hold
coordinator-
them to task.
No, but you are the coordinator.
Yes.
What have you done? Have you punished anybody?
We
have you
cannot
recommended-
punish,
have
but
you
we have
recommended-
been calling them. I can't remember.
Have
in a
you
school-
recommended for anybody to be punished, for example? And have you seen somebody
Not
getting
really,
punished?
but we visited a school.
Why not? You are the coordinator.
Yes.
Hold on, Rose. You are the coordinator. You know what is right for the children. You have seen the contract. You have advised that this should be done. The contractor does the work. He builds a 6-classroom block, and there's no ramp for the children. And you see it, and you recommend. Nothing happens, and you are there as coordinator.
No, something happened.
Like what?
You know, sometimes you will not be on the ground. That's why I said we are engaging them so that they don't make that
No, it's not about
mistakes.
engagement.
They
When
don't even
If
go
I
there.
give you money to cook palava sauce for me, and I
Yes.
come here, I've done tomato sauce, you can't tell me you are engaging me because I'm hungry,
You know
I should
what?
eat.
One instance, we were in a school, and the contractor was there. And we realized that what he's putting up, there is no provision for a ramp.
Okay.
Quickly, we drew his attention to it, and he did it.
You're a member of NEC, and I'll come to Doc finally. You're a member of NEC. NEC is calling on government to increase funding by some 2% to ensure that the implementation of the inclusive education policy is properly done. If you have not justified why how you have used the previous money, how do you come and call for an increase?
You know what? When we did the education sector analysis, we focused on inclusive education. We realized that the recurrent expenditure for education, when we did the analysis, we realized that the amount that is going into the education of children with special needs is 0.6%, which was woefully inadequate. But when we put up, you know, that money, it doesn't include the putting up of school buildings. It includes the provision of teaching learning materials and those things that the children will need to function well, participate fully in school.
So this 2% is justified?
Yes. So when we did that, we realized that with the for a start, when we start from there, we will get a long way because we need braille sheets for the visually impaired. We need other materials. You have specialized materials for children with
Look at me.
Recently, last week, Tuesday, we launched the sign language dictionary because we realized that the sign language we are even using in this country is different. It varies. When you go to this community, they are using different sign language. In this school, they are using
Look me eyeball to eyeball, Rose, and
Yeah.
tell me this from the better part of the bottom of your heart.
Yeah.
Have you been satisfied with what progress we have made for our brothers and sisters ever since this policy came to be? Look me and be honest and candid with me.
Yeah.
You've been satisfied with it?
Not 100%.
What percentage is that?
That will be about 60%.
60%.
Yes, in the sense that I know I've been part of the system before, and I'm part of the system now.
Okay.
And I know where we were and where we have been. We are now.
You think
And
government
so,
should be more involved?
Yes.
Okay.
That is what we are looking forward for.
Okay.
Because if we need to go upscale, then there is a need for the government to put in more.
Right. Let's,
so that
Doc,
we
what
can
will
get
be your closing thoughts? You've listened to Rose. What will be your closing thought, Doc?
Well, I'll say that in all fairness, I mean, well, when I was in school, I mean, things were more difficult than we have them now. There has been some strides. I mean, there have been some improvements. However, the rate of the improvement, I think, is unnecessarily slow.
Okay.
And I think that is due to the fact that not enough priority is put on this area. I know government, you know, has a lot of areas that it prioritizes and that's spending. you know. But it looks as if when it comes to this inclusive education, it's important, and I think the government has to put an extra effort.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they're not doing anything, but I believe that they can do a lot more than is being done.
Right.
And we need that to happen.
Thank you very much. Joshua, if I give you 30 seconds, what would you say?
Inclusive education is very important for us persons with disabilities, because that is the only way those you school with who later on become HR managers, who rather become presidents, who rather become ministers, will know what you are capable of doing and will not start prejudicing against you. So government needs to put that much effort to ensure that we school in the same environment without any hindrance.
Most grateful. Joshua Makubo is a disability advocate. You know him in this house. He's very popular here. Rose Ofosuhima Dako is the Inclusive Education Coordinator at the Ghana Education Service. And Dr. Peter Obeng Asamoah is Executive Director of the Ghana Blind Union. He's also a member of NEC. And we've been having this conversation brought to you lovingly by part of our mission program, brought to you by Star Ghana, UKA, Danida, and DFI.